So here we've arrived at the sheriff's department, and this is sort of where the survivors of the zombie attacks have holed themselves up and are just trying to get by. And when the player arrives here, you can see that there's lots of mission givers around, people who have lots of sort of things to tell the players. And again, this is just a great example of the visual storytelling that we're doing in the game. We're sort of allowing people to see the situation of these people and creating an atmosphere. And now we're going to take a mission from our good friend Deputy Andy, who's going to give us a little more background as to what's going on and perhaps share some of his suspicions.
Now, the Walking Dead, I can wrap my head around that. They're dead folk, just walking is all. But those other things, tall and pale, slimy as maggots, they washed up with the fog. They came and dragged the townsfolk out to sea, drowned them. Just like my dad with the kittens. He took them out to sea in a garbage bag. Said they were gonna go for a swim. Said they needed the exercise. They never came back. A few years later, neither did my dad. Jeez, I still miss those kids. The townsfolk, they did come back, dragging what looked like eggs. The big ones, they come out of those eggs, like something from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They're littered all over the place and guarded. And I'm thinking to myself, Andy, that's got to mean something. That's got to be a clue. Why keep an eye on something if it ain't valuable? That's police work. That's deduction, plain and simple. So I'm thinking, what came first, the maggot or the egg? Obviously the egg, right?
Okay. So Andy has obviously got some theories about where how the zombies and the Draug interact. He obviously has shared this with the player. Ragnar's just going to skip ahead now and meet up with the rest of the team, who are already down by the waterfront, so we're just going to jump ahead to that. This is the area map, the region map in our game. And I'd also like to point out that the cutscenes in the game that you're seeing here can be skipped quite easily just by pushing escape. So there's a lot of players who sort of like to just get right to the action, and we've given them that option as well. Though, of course, it really hurts our feelings that they don't want to listen to our writing. So moving on now, what we're seeing here is the Draug. This is the first sort of encounter with the Draug, and we're introducing the player to sort of what we call monster ecologies in the game. And monster ecologies are a part of our philosophy with creating this dynamic open world for players to really enjoy. And you see here that, like, obviously we have the eggs, the pods that Andy was talking about in that cutscene, where you have the sort of you shoot the pods and the Draug are inside the pods. And so what's very interesting about this is that players can basically destroy all the pods on the beach, and then the pods don't respawn. There's actually a population mechanic which is about repopulating the spawns of the pods on the beach. So as we head out here into the ocean, you might get a chance to see these female Draug, the ones with the tentacles. They basically infect zombies and turn them into these pod bearers. Okay, so you can see this guy looks like one of the pods, right? So zombies turn into pod bearers, basically incubators, if you will. And then they go into the beach and they collapse and they form pods on the beach. So there's this continual invasion of the Draug based on the players interacting with the content. And what's really interesting about this dynamic is that players can actually come out here, bring a group of friends, and kill the females, prevent them from creating new Draug, and therefore they dynamically change the environment, not just for themselves, but for the other players in the game. Alright, and so now we're going to show you another boss fight, because the Draug Lord shows up when people start messing with his women. So he shows up, and we're going to just watch a bit of a boss fight here, and just keep an eye on the guys and see the skills and abilities that they're using, because that's coming up next. Alright, so as you can see, the guys are using shotguns, they're using pistols, they're using assault rifles. They're definitely throwing around a bit of magic and definitely using a bit of healing. And I'm going to invite Martin to come up now and talk a little bit more about the skill system and the progression in our game.